Welcome, everyone. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Tanya Van Court, who is the founder of Goal Setter, which is a smart money app that lets every member of your family save for their dreams. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you, Candice. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I love it. And so your mission is to get a savings account into every kid in America.
Yes, Candice, it's actually going to get a savings account into the hands of every family in America.
Every family, even better.
Even better, because we know that parents need to save as much as kids need to save, particularly now. We all need to be thinking about saving. So it's important that we start to establish a savings culture in our families.
Yes, I know. Now more than ever. That's so true. So what made you want to create a savings app even before like all this pandemic was going on?
It was actually my own daughter. My daughter was 8, about to turn 9. And she said, Mommy, for my 9th birthday, I really only want 2 things. And I was like, oh, thank goodness she's going to tell me what she wants, because I have no idea what to get her. You know, all of our kids have too much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, great, Gabrielle, what do you want? And she said, I just want enough money to save for an investment account, and I want a bike. And I thought, that's amazing. She is 9, talking about saving for an investment account.
I know.
And she's talking about saving towards this larger goal that she wanted, that like nobody was coming to her birthday party with a bike in hand. And so that's what made me say, you know what? We really need to help our kids save for things that matter to them, things that are meaningful in their lives, instead of just bombarding them with more stuff, more consumer goods, more things that they, quite frankly, don't want, need, or use. And so that's what led me to start Goal Setter. We didn't have anything as a family. None of my friends had anything to help their kids learn money and save money and figure out how to really to value a dollar. And that's what I wanted.
I love that, because I feel like if you start talking about money at a younger age, when you get older, you're more likely to make wiser financial choices.
It's funny that you say that, because, you know, the research that I have read says that kids' financial habits are set by the age of 7.
Wow, 7.
So if you have kids that are 8 or 9, don't worry. That doesn't mean you've blown it. It just means, you know, we all have to work on our kids, and it's never too early. And whether your kids are 7 or 17, it's really important to have these conversations with them now and impart smart money habits now, because they'll need those later.
Yeah, absolutely. Because many times, like, we're waiting until we graduate college, and now we're figuring out how to adult. We're figuring out all this debt that we have. We don't have many savings. How do we create a budget?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And we typically have credit card debt coming out of college.
Yes,
So we're trying to do all of that with credit card debt on top of it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that was just like when America was just normal. And then now that we have this pandemic going on, it's just, it's just even more important for us to, you know, just know how to manage our money and to know how to save and to, you know just about the stock market and other ways to make money.
All of it is so important, Candice. And like you said, you know, sometimes it takes a big shock in your life for you to wake up and understand that something that you're doing had to change. And I think for us as a country and as a world and as a community, you know, this pandemic could very well be the shock that we need to say, you know what we were doing pre-pandemic, those habits and those norms have to change. When the pandemic started, you know, if you didn't have enough money in your emergency fund, that causes and creates so much stress.
Absolutely.
Right? Even if you are, you know, right now listening to our conversation and you still have a job at home, we're all wondering what's going to happen with the economy. And we're thinking about money a little bit differently, right? I'm not spending as much. People aren't spending as much because they're not going outside the house. But the question becomes, did I need to spend as much as I was spending before? And can I change my habits today? It's never too late. And we all need to think about, you know, what are the lessons this pandemic teaches us?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a great point. We are all kind of like, you know, just asking ourselves certain questions. Like you mentioned, like, was I overspending and how can I like reevaluate and put that money somewhere else? And a great place is to put it, like you mentioned, is your emergency fund.
Absolutely.
And they can actually you can save for that in using your Goal Setter app.
You can actually. So when an adult signs up for Goal Setter, before they even add kids, we give that adult 3 goals that they're automatically saving for. The first is an emergency fund. The second is an education fund, because there are a lot of adults who are saving for their own education or saving for their kids' education. And the third one is a fun fund, because adults did tell us, I want to save for things for myself too. And that's okay. And then after the adult signs himself up, they can add their kids, or they can add grandkids, or they can add nieces or nephews. It's a family savings app. And so it really is intended to be about, how do we get every member of the family saving? And when they add their kid, we set their kid up with 3 goals too: a savings goal, an education goal, and a fun fund. And so, you have goals already set there, and you can start saving immediately towards your own emergency fund. Because, it's like when you're on the airplane, Candice, and they say, you got to put on your mask first before you put on your child's mask. It's the same thing here. We have to save for ourselves, make sure that our emergency fund is intact. And then that gives us an opportunity to start a savings account for the kids in our lives and make sure that they are prepared for their future too.
Yes, I love that so much, because I also love it because it's like saving saves us, because there's a lot of people right now that this pandemic is like largely affecting the African American community. I was just reading an article on, New York Times. It said why coronavirus is killing African Americans more than others. And it talked about how, Black Americans are more likely to work service sector jobs, and are least likely to own a car, or at least likely to own their own homes. And therefore they're more likely to be in close contact with other people. And they're traveling to so many different places. And when you travel, you're more exposed. And so, yeah, it's just like, if you don't have savings, now it's like or you don't have any other streams of making money, and you have to go to this job. It's like your health is at risk, and you feel like you don't have any other choice.
Candice, I have to tell you, I live in Brooklyn, New York. I'm in Bed-Stuy, and it's breaking my heart every time I go out the house, which is not that often. But every time I go out the house and interact with someone in the service industry, there's another one of those real life stories that you just talked about that is hitting home for me, in terms of the Black and brown and poor workers in our city who don't have those emergency funds or haven't saved. And so they don't have a choice, right? It's one thing if you exercise your choice and you say, this is where I want to be, and I'm going to continue coming to this job every day. It's another thing if you don't have a choice and you can't feed your family unless you go to that job that is making you vulnerable, that is making you a target, that is putting you at greater risk of contracting COVID. And it's breaking my heart. Just a quick story for you. The other day I went to Costco. I told you I'm not going out much, but when I go, I try to buy a lot at one time. I went to Costco, and the guy who was working in the produce section at Costco, his name was Alejandro. And I said, Alejandro, why aren't you wearing a mask? Because, I think I'm everybody's mother, Candice. So I said, Alejandro, why aren't you wearing a mask? I'm sure he was like, oh, this lady. And he said, oh my gosh, thank you so much for remarking on it. I have asthma. And so the masks that they issue us are thicker, and it's hard for me to breathe out of. So I don't wear it.
Oh, wow.
So here we have, someone who is the most vulnerable. He has asthma. He has an underlying condition that impacts his respiratory system. And if he gets COVID, it is, the chances are that he might not make it. And yet he's there working in Costco, so that all of us can have food. And he said, I don't have a thin mask like the one that you have on. My mask is thicker. And I said, Alejandro, I'm coming back later today, and I'm bringing you some masks like the one I have on.
Oh,
wow. Yeah. And that's what I did. And that's what we all have to do, right? See it every day, Candice, every day here in New York.
Yeah. So, wow, that's just a great point that I didn't even think about, like the thickness of the masks. And I know there was another story where sometimes workers can't wear the mask because even their employers are telling them that it's not okay for you to wear masks here, because people might think you have the virus. So people might feel like they're in a position of, okay, what can we do right now? Like they might be in this place where they might be an essential worker, or maybe they're not an essential worker, or they still have their jobs. What's something that people can do to just better, protect themselves during this time?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that we all have, or most of us have access to a smartphone or a computer. We have to research the latest of what people are saying about protecting ourselves from this virus, because it is very serious. And the things that we have to do are really very stringent. I talked to
Mhm.
my own niece in California last night, and my own niece said she had been to the grocery store with a mask on, but not gloves. And I
Mm.
said, why are you going without gloves on? I need you to wear gloves. And I said, let me tell you all the other things I need you to do. When you
Yep.
get home from the grocery store, so before you get into your car, I need you to take off your gloves and throw them away
Mhm.
without touching the outside of the glove with
Oh,
your
yeah.
hand, right? So you remove the first glove by just pulling on the inside of your palm, and then the second glove, once that glove is it's wrapped in your second glove, you remove it by pulling from the
Oh, pulling
inside of the
underneath.
glove underneath, so you're not touching that glove. I said, then I want you to throw those gloves away. Then with your clean hand, you're opening up your car, you're getting in your car, you're putting hand
Hand
sanitizer
sanitizer
on
on.
once you get in your car. And then when you drive home and you empty out you take your groceries out of your trunk, you go into the house, and the front vestibule of the house, before you even get into the house, that becomes your sanitizing area, where you
Mm.
are sanitizing every single item in your bags and then passing it along to someone or moving it down the hallway for that to say, okay, this is the clean area. Now I'm going
Mhm.
to take that to the kitchen. And your clothes, I told what I do is I wear a t-shirt and I wear shorts. And then over that t-shirt, I put a zip up sweatshirt or a zip up coat, and I put sweatpants. As soon as
Mhm.
I get into the house, I am removing that coat. I am removing those sweatpants. I have a plastic bag right by the house. I mean, right by, right in front of the house.
Mhm.
I put those into that bag and wrap them up, and I go and wash those immediately. So these are the kinds of things we have to, CNN post the videos, the CDC, post guidance. We have
Mhm.
to be very serious about being vigilant, particularly when we are the ones who are on the buses more, on public transportation more, who are working in these stores. We've got to be more vigilant. The
Yes.
second, the second thing that I would just say is, if you're not that one, if you're the one who's just going to the store like me, still be vigilant, but figure out who are those people in your family, in your community, who you can serve.
Mm.
Community is what is going to get us through this time, right?
Yep.
So another just quick story from my own life and my own experience. My kid's babysitter, she babysits for another family, and she babysits across town in Brooklyn. She doesn't have a
Mhm.
car. She's 60 years old, and she's a cancer survivor. And so she has to get on the bus, and she has to go across town to that other home because those parents are necessary workers. And
Mhm.
so they need somebody to watch their kids. And so, you have to ask yourself, what can you do for other people to keep them safe?
Yep.
We all know if you had a little bit of money, you were hoarding at the beginning of this outbreak. So, if you have extra Lysol spray, if you have
Mhm.
extra Clorox wipes, just don't keep them in your basement, or keep them for if you might need them when somebody else really does need them. So we have to be more of a community than ever before right
Yep.
now, and serve each other.
I love that. So give away the wipes. And I think you also mentioned before off in a offline conversation about going, maybe even going to the grocery store for people who can't make it to the grocery store.
Yeah, that's right. So, that same babysitter who I told you, 60 years old, cancer survivor. Well, she has an older cousin who is disabled and can't make it to the grocery store. So, guess what? She's going to the grocery store for her. And when I learned that she was doing that, I was like, oh my goodness, no, now you're putting yourself in even more
Even
jeopardy.
more. Yep.
Yeah. So I said, tell me, I have to go to the grocery store anyway. You tell me what
Mhm.
you need. You tell me what she needs. I'll pick up what both of you need and drop them off to you, because I also have the privilege and luxury of having a
Mhm.
car in New York City.
Yep.
So I don't have to be on the bus. And when she does it, right, she has to go from her home, taking a bus to the grocery store, taking a bus to drop off the groceries, taking a bus back to her home. That's at least 3 times that she's putting herself directly in harm's way. So let's
Yep.
find people who we can, serve not only with our supplies, but serve with our service.
I love that. And then earlier you also mentioned about just the self-awareness factor. Like this is kind of teaching us all some valuable lessons about how we should, just act different after this is all over, or what different actions we can take.
Absolutely. And for me, the greatest aha moment came from me, that you shared with me, Candice, which was, Cardi B was talking about, oh, now I can't wear my hot outfits
Yeah.
outside the house, right?
The
And
designer outfits. Yeah.
yes, I can't wear my designer outfits outside the house. But guess what? Your designer outfits also aren't paying your rent this month. They're
Mhm.
not buying those groceries. They're not buying those Lysol wipes. They're
Yep.
not buying the extra toilet paper that you needed to have so you can feel comfortable. They're not buying any of that. And
Mhm.
so for too long, we have been a slave to our things instead of taking that money that we spend on things and allowing that money to be of service to us, right?
Preach.
Money
Yes.
sitting, money sitting in the bank, it can serve you.
Yep.
It's like the Amistad. It gives you free. It
Yeah.
makes you free and helps you to be able to make the decisions that you need to make to keep your family and yourself healthy and
Mhm.
sane and secure at this time. And so, that is the greatest thing that I hope we collectively learn coming out of this, right? That it's not about the red bottom shoes. Those red
Mhm.
bottom shoes are doing nothing for nobody right now. It is
Yeah,
about
they're
having an
not.
emergency fund,
Yes.
right? It is about having an emergency fund. It is about having the peace of mind that having that money in the bank brings. And not just peace of mind. It's not just some fairy tale peace of mind, the
Mhm.
actual security, because this virus isn't just wreaking havoc on our bodies, it's
Mhm.
wreaking havoc on us financially as a community. And that wreaks havoc on our health condition.
Yes. Wow. This was such a great conversation, and I really hope that people, are taking a lot from it. Now, if they did want to download your Goal Setter app, it's available on Apple, the iPhone, as well as the Android.
It is. It is. So please, I encourage everyone to download it and start saving. It makes saving fun and easy. Candice, I didn't even tell you half of the things that we have on the app. We also have fun financial literacy quizzes that
Yes.
teach you real financial literacy concepts, but they're rooted in memes and gifs from hip hop artists, social media influencers, television personalities. So, when Beyonce says, "Can you pay my bills? Can you pay my telephone bills?" Beyonce wouldn't need anybody to pay her telephone bill. She had an
Mhm.
emergency fund. And that's how we
Oh,
teach about emergency funds. So we
I
have
love
really
that.
great, yeah, we have great savings tools. We have great financial literacy content. And we have the ability for you to actually gift a savings account to another kid in your life. So whether you're signing up your own family and your own kid, or you have a godchild, a niece, or a nephew, you can send them a goal card instead of a gift card. And that
Mm.
will start a real savings account for them and change their lives. Kids who have savings accounts, by the way, Candice, I need to leave you with this, are six
Mhm.
times more likely to go to college and four
Wow.
times more likely to own stocks by the time they're young adults. Adults who have savings plans, a
Mhm.
consistent savings plan, which Goal Setter will give you, save twice as much as those who don't. So we all need to be signed up for a savings tool that helps us to save in easy ways that we don't think about, so that we can be ready as we are moving beyond this pandemic. We can be ready for whatever else life brings us, because obviously, as is evidenced by this, we never quite know.
Yes. No, I absolutely agree. And you guys should definitely make sure you download the Goal Setter app. It's a fun way to not only save your money, but also to learn about money. Sometimes we read about we're reading sometimes just boring money books, and sometimes we don't really understand the different concepts, but your app actually makes learning about money really fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
But thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I love talking to you always. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So long.
Bye bye. Take care. Stay healthy.